Going on, guys? Kingpin Light here, and we got Don't Think I've Forgotten Cambodia's Lost Rock and Roll. It's the preview video. So I figured I would react to the preview video. Then I would watch this on my own when I get a little bit of time. This has been recommended to me countless times throughout my reactions to Vanda and other Cambodian artists as sort of a way to learn more about some of the atrocities that happened and some of the time era's music. I think they're in like what is it oh, let me put this down. Like the 60s and or through the 80s or something like that. And so like one of the things I wanted to do is just sort of react to this, see what it's going to be kind of like, watch it on my own time because I don't want to react to an entire movie, or at least don't want to show an entire movie that should be bought and watched on its own. And then sort of make a video afterwards on my thoughts on it of what I learned, that sort of thing. But let's jump right into this preview and see what it's all about. Side note, is this just from this little starting visuals that we got? Is this what was included in the intro and outro of Time to Rise that I just reacted to or revisited? Um, because I did mention how the front and ends of it seemed like that old timey era, almost like the Batman live action old school show. Like it had that time era, the sounds, all of that. And this sort of gives me the same vibe. So now I'm wondering, especially since you guys suggested that in the comment sections of those Vonda videos, whether that's actually where it's from specifically, or if it's just in the same style. But anyway, let's go back a little bit. Spacebar doesn't press play apparently.
There is a saying in Cambodia, music is the soul of a nation.
I can agree with that right there. Music is so powerful. It really plays on emotions. And not to say other forms of art don't do the same thing, but music is so visceral, right? It's so integral to like how people it really affects people's moods, and they have specific music for specific moods and specific mindsets where other mediums of art like painting and that sort of thing do bring up emotions, but I've yet to meet somebody that looks at art in the amount of time or at for the amount of time and gets the exact same reaction that they would from music. You know what I mean? Music just feels like a really powerful form of art, and like you said, it's really a way to show culture, to show your personal experiences, all of that kind of combined. Uh, and I didn't really mention this, but it's just their lost rock and roll, Cambodia's lost rock and roll, which is actually really cool. I didn't know that there was a rock and roll scene. I guess I've never thought about it. It's not that I didn't believe it existed outside of the US. Like that sounds ridiculous, right? But I've never given it actual thought. Like that idea has never really been in my mind. It makes sense that it would be elsewhere, right? Not just in the US, but it's just crazy to actually I guess see like an example of it, you know what I mean? So let's go back.
The soul of a nation.
Just give me like Miami Vice feelings. Oh, they were like old school rock and roll, which makes sense for the time era. It's just cool seeing pictures. And honestly, it's cool seeing pictures from anywhere, not just Cambodia, but seeing old school rock and roll pictures from the US for me. Um, excuse me. It's just kind of cool seeing that whole time era of music. And it's cool seeing this too. Like rock and roll used to be really it had its moments of classiness, like they're here, right? Like they're dressed up nice. They got like almost suit and ties. Sort of like the jazz transitioned a little bit into rock and roll before it became a more I don't want to say lower class, but like anthems for the lower class almost, right? Like it turned into punk and grunge for the disenfranchised, and it became a more widely accepted form of music. But I feel like the origins of rock and the origins of jazz were classy, is what I would call it.
Donc, c'est toutes sortes de musique moderne chez nous.
I was not a shy kid, you know. I was like,
Hold on, before you even comment on this, is that music from Cambodia? That soundtrack? 'Cause that little guitar line was kind of going off, to be honest with you.
Donc, c'est toutes sortes de
Like some
musique
Black
moderne
Keys.
chez nous.
I was not a shy kid, you know. I was like, just give me the music, I'll dance.
ពួកអ្នកសប្បាយហ្នឹងហៅពួក hippie
And I'm like, this is so cool.
Oh, they had the
ពួកអ្នកសប្បាយហ្នឹងហៅពួក hippie
oh man, they had like the Pink Floyd and the Beatles era is what it looks like. They got that look and everything.
And I'm like, this is so cool. It's my generation. I was ready for more, and all of a sudden, it's all gone.
We did get involved in bombing a neutral country.
The Khmer Rouge came in as enemies to an enemy city.
I'm guessing that was an American representative. You guys did mention in the comments that America actually had a carpet bombing campaign over Cambodia, whether it was directed at Cambodia or if it was just a casualty of war. I haven't quite figured out yet. I haven't looked into it too much, but you guys did mention that that happened. And honestly, that's something, it doesn't surprise me that it wasn't taught in school. Like, why teach the atrocities of your own country? But it doesn't surprise me with the way the US is in foreign policies, and specifically the way US is in undercover policies, right? With the CIA, with just black ops, that sort of thing. There's been a whole lot of fuckery going on.
The Khmer Rouge came in as enemies to an enemy city. The new Cambodia was going to be a revolutionary country and not contaminated by the West.
ខ្ញុំថាខ្ញុំលក់ចេកចៀននេះនាងខ្ញុំគឺអ្នកចម្រៀងខ្ញុំផោគេទេនិយាយដើម្បីឲ្យរស់ជីវិត
Si vous voulez éliminer la société, les anciennes valeurs, il faut commencer par éliminer les artistes.
It's such a sad thing that just hearing about it and then seeing people that live through it, it's just insane that it's not covered as much as as I feel like other atrocities are covered. It's just something that's not really, I wouldn't say it's not common knowledge, because Pol Pot, all of that sort of thing, I am aware in my peripheral, I was aware of those things. It felt like longer. The way that it's taught, it felt like history as opposed to something that's fairly recent, you know what I mean? And it was also never taught in depth. And again, that doesn't surprise me. At least in my experience, because I went to public school, the public school system can be a little lacking. I'll say it nicely. It can be a little lacking, and it really comes down to, now that we have the internet, it really comes down to doing self-research and self-education. And I personally didn't go to college or universities. I think what it's called in Cambodia, but I didn't go to either of those because I just didn't have the money, and I wanted to just start working. So I started working. I got lucky and I made it, but so I didn't have a lot of exposure to some of the stuff that you learn in college and university that isn't necessarily part of your field, because you have to take certain classes that may not be part of your major, but they're kind of required teaching, or they're just side teaching that you have to take. And so I didn't have that experience. So for me, it's always been using the internet, learning from other people, picking up what I can, and that's the way that I've sort of taught myself. But it doesn't surprise me that this wasn't particularly covered in my schooling. But it's crazy, right? And that in itself does make sense right? If you want to destroy a nation to rebuild your own views on it, art is one of the things that really holds a culture together, whether it's music, whether it's paintings, whether it's symbols. And unfortunately, that's also what happened during, uh, the Nazis and the Jewish art and all of that. That was all ransacked and that was all taken by the Nazis because that is an effective way to start destroying a culture. And it's obviously horrible that it happens.
Parce que les artistes sont influents. Les artistes sont proches du peuple.
Yeah, honestly, this looks like something that I would personally have watched, even if you guys hadn't. I mean, I wouldn't have known about it, so I'm glad you guys told me. But if it wasn't even part of my YouTube journey to learn the culture and all of that, I still, if I had come across this, I probably would have watched it. Not only do I love music, as you guys can probably tell from my channel, I'm in love with music. Everything it stands for, pretty much every form of it, I like. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna like every song ever or anything like that, but I like the artistry that goes into it, and I love when it's done well. But then also history is another one of my side. I really just like learning, to be honest with you guys. My girlfriend said something pretty funny to me a couple of months ago. She said she visited and she was at my house and we were watching YouTube videos. We were just laying on the couch having a lazy day. And we were just sitting there watching random YouTube videos, and she's like, why is every YouTube video and every channel that you follow some form of learning? She's like, do you ever just watch something for fun? I'm like, these are fun for me because I follow all these channels that are like math, right? I follow a bunch of math ones. I follow a bunch of technology and networking. I follow a lot of music, but like I don't use YouTube to listen to music outside of reactions, so I follow a lot of channels that talk about music, not necessarily artists on YouTube. And yeah, I just like learning, and history is definitely one of those things that I love learning about. I love just thinking about how people lived in different time periods. Like I feel like that's insane, right? Like 200-300 years ago, we were living with pretty much no technology. Not no technology, but no digital technology, no. It's just crazy to think how differently a couple 100 years ago is. So anyway, as I said, my plan is to watch this on my own time, and once I do watch it, I'll probably come back, do a quick little video on what I've learned and what I thought of the movie and that sort of thing, and keep you guys sort of updated on my continuing journey to learn more about different cultures. So I appreciate you guys pointing me toward this. This definitely looks like it's going to be a great watch, and if you like this, like, subscribe, and comment, and feel free to comment more suggestions in this comment box. It's fine if it's not related to this specifically. I try my best to get to all the reactions, but I am, and I'm very happy for this, I am finally reaching a point where I'm getting more reactions than I have time to get to. And which is great. It means you guys are engaging more and letting me know more stuff that I can branch out and learn about. But it's definitely, I have to be a little more selective now. So feel free to comment the same song on different videos or whatever as I upload, and I'll eventually get to it. I can promise you that. So anyway, guys, I will catch you on the next one.